The movie starts by showing Mason, the hero of the movie and an army officer, introducing himself. He claims to have excelled in all areas of life and served the country during his years in the army. Mason boasts about being the best officer in his team, having earned his reputation through rigorous training. He then reveals that he married his friend, whom he liked, and they have a daughter together. The story progresses as Mason and his team embark on a mission to eliminate President John of another country. However, their helicopter is attacked and destroyed, resulting in the death of all Mason's companions. Mason survives the incident but is left traumatized. He confesses to suffering from depression, as he has lost his sense of purpose in life. Mason is shown reminiscing about his army days while looking at his army belongings. Later, Mason regains composure and meets his wife and grown-up daughter. He drops his daughter off at school and proceeds to his office. At his office, a man approaches him with a case involving his wife, who frequently engages in arguments. As a lawyer, Mason advises the man and attempts to resolve the situation. Unhappy with his work, Mason sits down, holding his head, and reflects on his army days. Suddenly, his former army companion, who is also a close friend, pays him a visit. They warmly greet each other, and the companion reveals that he has established a security agency. He explains that he provides security services worldwide, but is currently in search of someone special. When Mason inquires further, his companion reveals that a reporter is traveling to another country to interview President John, and he wants Mason to accompany her as her guard. Initially hesitant, Mason refuses the offer, citing the difficulty of the task. However, his companion entices him by offering $20,000 and assuring him that the job is not demanding. Mason eventually agrees, but he expresses concern about the purpose behind the assignment. His companion assures him that the objective is solely to conduct the interview and return within a day. Mason watches President John's interview on TV, where the president discusses eliminating criminals and terrorists in their country. This statement prompts Mason to question whether they will have to eliminate President John. His companion clarifies that their mission is solely to conduct the interview, not to harm the president. Mason prepares for the assignment and leaves home. His wife, noticing his changed demeanor, asks where he is going. Mason explains that he is going on a one-day security duty. His wife expresses sadness, mentioning that he has changed and no longer spends time with them or shows the same affection. She requests him to return as the person he used to be. Despite her concerns, Mason leaves and meets the reporter. While on the plane, Mason watches the reporter's interviews, finding some of them amusing. The reporter notices him watching and jokingly accuses him of spying. Mason denies the accusation, stating that he was merely observing her work. The reporter dismisses the significance of her fame and emphasizes that her interviews aim to expose the truth to the world. After reaching their destination, President John meets the reporter and Mason, expressing admiration for the reporter. They leave in a car with heavy security, and President John mentions the love he receives from the people of the city. While John and the reporter engage in conversation, Mason grows bored. Suddenly, a series of explosions occur, causing John's security cars to fly and resulting in the death of many of his companions. Mason becomes numb and panicked as goons appear and start firing at them. Mason regains his senses and takes control of the situation. He sits in the front seat and drives the car, sending the reporter to the back. He confronts the goons, successfully eliminating many of them. As another goon car approaches, Mason collides with it, causing the goons to be injured and die. After defeating all the attackers, they exit the car. John and the reporter are shocked by Mason's fighting skills, and John praises him for his bravery and ability to dominate the enemy alone. Mason acknowledges the appreciation but urges them to leave, emphasizing the importance of escape. He suggests that the attack may have been orchestrated by one of John's companions, which excites the reporter as it presents an opportunity for an exclusive interview. Mason reiterates the need to prioritize their escape and suggests they continue on foot. He contacts his companion and informs him about the attack, revealing their current location in the forest. Mason's companion expresses shock upon learning that all of Mason's team members have been killed. Mason requests assistance, and his companion promises to send his team. Meanwhile, John's nephew prepares to take his place, assuming that John has been killed in the attack. The general, who controls the entire army, arrives and praises John's nephew. John contacts the general, causing his nephew to become worried upon learning that John is alive. John informs his nephew that he is stuck in the forest with a brave man who can handle the enemies alone. John's nephew instructs his team to stay put and assures the general that they won't let John escape. However, Mason expresses distrust towards John's people and decides to move forward with the reporter. The reporter insists on interviewing John, seeing it as a crucial opportunity for her career. Mason tries to make her understand the danger they are in and the risks to their lives, but the reporter becomes furious and prioritizes her career over everything else. Mason agrees to let her interview John if they get another chance, and they continue moving forward. Suddenly, a helicopter lands and attacks them. They flee into the forest, and Mason overcomes his fear, taking a position and shooting down the helicopter with a sniper gun. As they regroup, a goon approaches them secretly, but Mason surprises him from behind, strangling him to death. Another goon points a gun at Mason, but before he can shoot, John appears from behind, shoots and kills the goon. Noticing the gun, he asks John where he got it from. John reveals that he always carried the gun for his own protection. After a while, John's nephew arrives with his companions and becomes furious upon seeing the damaged helicopter. He was accompanied by the leader of the biggest goon gang in the country, who intended to attack John and eliminate him. The goon leader informs John's nephew that he had already sent several people to kill him as instructed, but they were all killed. He plans to send another large team to finish the job and insists on doing it his way, expressing his dislike for John's interference. John's nephew reluctantly agrees. The reporter apologizes to Mason for her earlier anger and acknowledges his kindness. Mason opens up about his personal struggles, explaining that he had come on this mission while leaving his family behind. He expresses his love and concern for them, but feels that they don't understand his dedication, causing him to lose focus on his work and feel useless. The reporter reassures him, mentioning that his companion, who is also her friend, spoke highly of him and confirms that he is a good person. This uplifts Mason's spirits. Later, John takes Mason and the reporter to a village where he used to live, and the villagers are delighted to meet them. After freshening up, Mason starts recording a video of the reporter interviewing John. The reporter asks about the motive behind the massive attack on John. John explains that although their country may be small, the resources and assets it possesses are valuable to other nations. These countries seek to control their government and exploit their resources, which is why they face such attacks. John's primary goal is to protect his people and serve them by utilizing their country's resources for their benefit. He mentions a special chemical found in their country that is used to manufacture expensive electronics like mobiles and cars. Other countries covet this chemical and want to attack and seize it because John has refused to comply with their demands. Mason agrees with John's assessment. John's companions express their happiness and support for him, chanting slogans in his favor. Mason and the reporter also feel a sense of admiration and readiness to help John. That night, John throws a party for his friends, and Mason and the reporter enjoy themselves. The reporter, after consuming alcohol, dances with John, and Mason is happy to see John in high spirits. The next day, Mason calls his friend and questions why he was chosen for this mission when someone else could have been sent. He emphasizes that he could easily kill John if he wanted to. His friend explains that it's not about killing John, as there are people who want to eliminate him. Mason receives orders from influential individuals representing different countries around the world. Mason ends the call and contacts his daughter, expressing his love for her. His daughter informs him that his wife is angry and urges him to return home soon. Mason assures her that he will be back soon and thanks his wife for always taking care of him and their daughter. She also asks Mason to come back soon. Afterward, Mason approaches John and the reporter, expressing the need to leave due to the danger they face. Before they can depart, the goons' leader arrives with his companions and begins threatening and assaulting the villagers, demanding to know John's whereabouts. John, witnessing this in secret, becomes furious and steps forward to confront the leader. Concerned for John's safety, Mason joins him on his horse. He swiftly helps John onto the horse and they escape. The goons' leader fires shots at them from behind, but they manage to get away. However, the leader captures the reporter and forces her into slavery, taunting her about her fame and impending death. John and Mason continue their conversation while moving forward. John acknowledges that danger follows them wherever they go, and Mason suggests that John's companions want to eliminate him. Unfazed, John reveals that they need to head directly to his office building. He then apologizes to Mason for the loss of his companions and expresses his understanding. They arrive at a large city, and their next task is to enter it. At night, they seek refuge in a church and offer prayers. Later, John meets with a close friend who informs him that his nephew is now with the general and has taken over his office. John realizes they must regain control of the office and free the reporter. The following day, Mason stands at a location where the goons' leader arrives with his companions. Mason demands the release of the reporter, but the leader exits the car and points a gun at Mason. In response, Mason also aims his gun at him and calls for John. John appears with a large group of loyal supporters who passionately love him. They move forward aggressively, setting various places on fire. Panicked by the sight, the leader becomes fearful, and the reporter manages to free herself by seizing a guard's gun. Mason and John escape with her. As they continue their journey, John tells them to prepare for the biggest interview, which will take place in his office. He leads them through a cave and into his office, where his nephew is present and becomes frightened upon seeing John. John reassures his nephew, stating that they will work together and there is no need for him to seek power by ending John's life. His nephew realizes his mistake, apologizes, and embraces John. The reporter captures this emotional moment on her phone. Meanwhile, the general arrives and shoots John, causing his nephew to become enraged. John and his nephew retaliate, shooting and killing the general. The general falls at a distance, having also been shot multiple times. John, protected by a bulletproof jacket, survives, but his nephew succumbs to his injuries. John mourns his nephew's death. Soldiers arrive and surround John, pointing their guns at him. John convinces them that he is their president, not their enemy, and reminds them that they are soldiers tasked with protecting their country. At that moment, the goons' leader arrives with his companions. Realizing the true threat, John urges the soldiers to turn and confront their enemies. The soldiers comply and engage in a fierce firefight with the goons. Many casualties occur on both sides. John, Mason, and the reporter find a safe spot to observe the battle. Mason assists the soldiers in eliminating the goons, using his firearm to shoot them. They descend from their position, and Mason fights off the goons who approach them, dispatching them with bullets and punches. The reporter records the entire scene on her mobile phone, capturing John's bravery. Suddenly, the goons' leader attacks Mason, overpowering him and placing a sharp weapon against his neck. Before the leader can harm Mason, the reporter intervenes, saving him. The goons' leader falls, injured. Enraged, Mason grabs a large gun and eliminates all the enemies, shooting them down. The reporter and John are amazed by Mason's courage and boldness, capturing the entire event on video. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. I always love hearing from my viewers, so feel free to leave a comment below with your thoughts on the video or any suggestions for future content. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.